Wonder how many people are going to come to this live. I don't even get that many chances to go live with all of the work that we do here at the creditrepairshop.com and Summers Master. But even if people are at work and not able to jump on, I at least want to get you this information because since the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has kind of, I would say it's like in a stagnant, it's like stagnant position right now. And there were rules that were put in place for debt collectors when they were to come, buy debt. The process of allowing people to dispute the debt, which is not just disputing the debt itself, not just that's. I think they needed to be a lot clearer on what the dispute or debt validation process is all about. Most people focus on the amount. That's what the debt collection companies want you to do, is to focus on the amount. But the focus should be on everything: documents, the transfer of those documents, the amount claimed, how did they get to the amount claimed, interest rate, everything. You are allowed to ask for everything, because if they become the new owner of the debt, they're supposed to be able to supply you with anything that you ask for. And I want everybody to forgive me, my voice. One of my grandchildren, he was sick over the weekend, and we saw them all, and I think he passed it over to me. I got a sore throat. I don't feel sick, but I am struggling to talk, but I'm going to push my way through it, because a lot of people, I'm looking at my Google spreadsheets for the weekend, and yesterday, over 70 people contacted us that were getting sued by debt collectors, and about 150 people contacted us about getting debt collector letters. And so what I want to do in this video is I want to take you through the process of a debt collection lawsuit. And this can also be for an original creditor lawsuit, but I want to specifically talk about it from the point of view of a debt collector who buys your debt. So the first thing, and this is the process. So don't let anyone fool you. And as a matter of fact, let me back up. I forgot I was going to say this. I am not here to tell you anything to do. You don't have to believe me. All I'm going to do is just share with you the process of the courts. And then you can come to your own realization of what you believe you should do if you're being sued by a debt collector. I think that's fair. I think that would be fair. And one of the number one reasons why I want to make this video is because so many people are struggling financially, and they are actually being hit with judgments when these debt collectors, if they were challenged the right way, they would not have lost their case. But people are getting default judgments because they're not responding to those debt collector lawsuits. So the first thing is the pleading. This is where the plaintiff initiates a complaint. Now, one of the things that they have to do first, and this sometimes gets skipped over, is that they have to notify you that they're attempting to collect the debt. Now, a lot of people get those letters, a lot of people don't. They might send it to an old address, whatever. If you don't get that, that is something that they must do before they decide to take you to court. And if they used a document that was not substantiated or something that was made up, you could use that against them to get that case dismissed. So let's say that they do send you that and they notify you and they say, hey, we're going to sue you. one of the things that you need to be aware of is if they don't sue you right away, I would say 30 to 45 days, they would actually be in violation of the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, for making a threat that they did not intend on doing, which is a threat of lawsuit. They have to sue you if they make that threat. Now, it is a lot of gray area in there. I know that there's a lot of gray area, and also I'm going to allow people to ask questions too in this. You can start putting your questions in there if you want to do that. The next thing is, once they submit their paperwork to the court, and they're going to submit the paperwork to the court, and then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to get a process server, and this could be different in your state. My state requires that they try to serve you, and if they don't serve you, they can submit 2 weeks post in a publication or online publication with your name on it, stating that you're getting sued, and then the court considers that service like the attempted service. And so in some states, and we just ran into one in California, they actually have this process that you have to be served, but they can continue. And then if you contest that you didn't get served properly, the court could either dismiss the case or could give you more time to file your response for the case. It varies in all areas. I've even seen it vary from city to city. We had a young man call us yesterday that he went through. When you hear this is going to drive you crazy. He got his summons response, took it to the courthouse to file it, and they told him he had to pay a $300 fee to file it. So he's getting sued, and now he has to pay a fee to respond. And I said, they didn't tell you that you could get a waiver. And he said, no, they didn't say anything about a waiver. The clerk didn't. And I said, go back there, ask them about the waiver. And guess what? They said, here's the paperwork to get the waiver. My feelings on that is, why would that clerk not tell him? And he had told me that when they told him he had to pay $300 to file it, he was like that. He made a deal about it. He was like, why do I got to do this? Why? And so they knew he was struggling. And in this case, you see, here's the thing that they put you up against. If he didn't submit a response, which they're making him pay $300 to respond, and they should have told him that he could get a waiver to not have to pay the $300. If he didn't do it, he was going to be facing a $15,000 default judgment. So to even be able to fight, he has to submit a response, and they're trying to make him pay a $300 court fee. And that's making it very difficult for people to be able to, to fight back. And I remember when I went through it. So they're going to send out a server, and they're going to try to get your signature. Some places they can leave it at the doorstep. They cannot, I don't believe in any state, they're allowed to give it to a minor. That's something that they're just not allowed to do. The next thing is that you have to respond to that summons, and you're going to have either, depending on your state, 15 to 30 days to respond. If you don't respond, the consequences are that you give up all of your rights. The court is going to believe the allegations that's in the summons that they served you or that you maybe didn't receive, and they're going to consider it that everything is accurate. So when you don't respond to the summons, you're actually giving up your rights. That's something that you need to understand, is that you're telling the court that whatever they said is true. And I understand the feeling where people don't want to, they're just like, I don't want to answer this. I don't want to deal with it. I want to put it in the back of my mind. I don't want to have to worry about it. I get it. I went through it when I had my situation in the 1990s. I really, truly get it. you want to put this stuff behind you and you want to move forward. But I'm here to tell you, it when you get a default judgment, they can come after you for 20 years. And in state of Illinois has actually increased the time frame that they can come after people for default judgment. So you do not, I know I say it a lot, but you do not want to give up your rights and not respond to that summons. And if you do it the right way, you'll be able to win most of those debt collection cases. I would say if it's done the right way, you're going to either have probably about a 70 to 80% chance of winning. Some of it depends on the judge that you get in front of. But even with that, having the summons done the right way could force them to offer you a very good settlement offer. And again, put your questions in there for me. And in this one here, we're not talking about credit repair in this one. I'll do another live on that. This one here is specifically for people who are getting sued by debt collectors. So the next thing, if you put together a summons response that's appropriate, where it's going to challenge the debt collection attorney, and it's going to also challenge their allegations that are against you, you will have an excellent chance of getting that summons, getting that debt lawsuit dismissed. If you get it to them early enough, more than a week. So if you get it today and you get it to them tomorrow, they're going to be able to sit down with their client or have a phone call with their client, the debt collection company, and the attorney who's representing them in your area. And they will ask them, do you want to proceed? Because this is going to be an uphill battle. This individual has the information to be able to fight this case. What do you want us to do? And in most instances, what we've had with our clients is that they just decided to dismiss the case. Now, if you come along late and like the gentleman who has, I think one of our clients had to go this morning. And, so you're going to walk in the court and you're going to give them your response and give one to the plaintiff attorney. And then they can make their decisions right there, but they'll usually ask for more time because they're going to want to get with their client to see what their client wants them to do. So it's always good to respond to that summons early so you can get them time to back out. Believe me, they want to go after people who are not going to fight. You could fight and respond appropriately, and they just decide to dismiss your case and let you move on because they got 100 other people that did not get a response written for them, and they just get judgment, and then they're going to go to garnishing their wages. So it's always good to respond. And if you need help responding to a debt collection lawsuit, you can go to summonsmaster.com, where you can get a fully formatted response to every allegation in your summons and a defense to potentially win your case. So the next step, if they want to continue, so we had the step where they serve you, we had the step where you get the summons, we had a step where you respond to the summons. The next step potentially that they could request is to have interrogatories, requests for documents, and requests for admissions. These here are like trick questions that they will put in front of you, and you have to respond to them. If you don't respond to them, they're going to be able to say that you were not compliant with the court, and they're going to say that all of those questions that they ask are deemed to be true. Now, when you're dealing with a debt collector, and I'll answer your question in a second. When you're dealing with a debt collector, the interrogatories, production, and admissions are, if you have experience, you can actually flip that whole thing around on them because they never gave you the money for the loan or the credit card or whatever. Let me answer this question real quick. Individual here says they have a Bank of America sued them and they are garnishing their pay. If you were not served, if you have a default judgment, we can 100% get that case reopened and get your money back. Again, but this is the it has to be a default judgment. If you were served in hand, if they have any proof that they served you in hand, it doesn't matter if they left it at your doorstep. That doesn't count. What counts is if they served you in hand, then you're going to have to. I would suggest that you either move to offer for lump sum settlement if you can't afford that. Call them up and try to get an adjustment on the garnishment, and then at a later date look at paying it, offering them a settlement. And they will do that because the way they look at it is if you were to change jobs, and also in certain jurisdictions they have to renew the garnishment. In my state, they have to renew it after 13 weeks. So how can someone get help with just go here. What you do, call customer service. Let them know that you have a default judgment, and we'll get you connected with the staff member that helps get these cases reopened. He's very, very good. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter. We help people in all 50 states. We know exactly how to do this. It's something that we've done where people have gotten sued and they froze their bank account for thousands of dollars, or they were garnishing their wages. If you were not served in hand, or they don't have proof, that's the what's most important about it. If they don't show proof that you were actually served, we can get that reopened and you can get your money back. And then now back to the discovery. That's the discovery phase is if they continue with the case, if they decide to continue with it. And usually if it's a high amount, they're gonna push before they give up. So they'll go into discovery. That's the interrogatories, productions, and admissions. If you're being sued by a third-party debt collector, we have experience. I'll just put it that way. It has to be done different. This is something that is not a template on this. I know a lot of people will be like, is there a template on responding to that? No. This is where you challenge based on their questions, and they're going to put those questions together. You know how attorneys are. They're going to put it together in a way that they already know the answer. You've seen that on the movies. You've seen that all over the place. They will put it together. Yeah, you're right about Illinois. That's where I was just telling you about the guy with the where they didn't tell him about the waiver. The clerk did not say anything about the waiver. And Illinois is the state that increased the how long a judgment can last. They increased it like to 30 years, upwards of 30 years that they could collect on that debt if it's a judgment against you. And then they also made this weird update. So for every state that's 20 years for a judgment, they have to renew it. Some states do it at 7 years. Some states like mine in Wisconsin, they do it at 10 years. And they have to do it before that date hits, or the judgment does not get renewed to go up to 20 years. Illinois made this weird thing to where they don't have to do the renewal. Like, that's crazy. It's like they're just putting people into a cycle of debt. This is something that the legislators do from debt collectors lobbying them. This is not something that is just, they just wake up one day and say, hey, we want to put this legislation together to make people have to sit with a judgment for 30 years, or to make it to where a debt collector doesn't have to renew it. This is stuff that debt collection lobby groups approach the state legislators to do it. Now, I can tell you the state of California and the state of New Jersey are very, very, very consumer friendly. So the person who talked about New Jersey, they are your judges, your state legislators. They're all on, they're consumer friendly. anything, any hiccup that they had in their lawsuit could get it thrown out. But you got to know how to find those hiccups. You got to know how to find those the things that they did wrong when filing those cases. But California and New Jersey are ahead of everybody on it. And then we got some states that are behind. A lot of the southern states make it very tough, like Texas. People cannot, you're welcome. People cannot get sued. I mean, people cannot be garnished in the state of Texas. And from my memory, I should have this, but I believe North Carolina cannot be garnished. No wages can be garnished. But guess what they do? They send out this, once they get the judgment, they send out this feeler. And it goes, it's like a notice to every bank in the city that you live in. And when that bank gets that notice, if your name is on there from that court order, they will freeze your account and they will put a receiver over it and they will send that money to that receiver. So they can't garnish people. You know, I know garnishment doesn't feel good, but just imagine waking up in the morning and they took the money straight out of your bank account. And then the more crazier thing about it is that if it's not enough money to satisfy the judgment, they're going to keep that garnishment order on there. So when your paycheck comes in there, they're just swipe it all. They just swipe it all. And before I continue on that, if you are exempt, a lot of people say I'm on SSI or retirement, they can't touch it. You're right, they can't touch it. But the problem is if you don't notify them, they will touch it. And if you got rent due or the mortgage is due and they take the money out of your account, even though you're able to get it back, you're going to miss a payment. It could take upwards of 30 to 60 days to get that money reversed back into your account. If you have that situation, let me give you some information on what you can do. Is every state has you go to the courthouse, they're going to have some rules on how much so that they could take out of your account. They have to leave you something to live on. It's different for every state. I wish it was, you know, the same, but it's similar. They will have to put some money in there for you to pay your bills and for you to be able to live. But if a lot of people just don't, you know, want to do it. And I understand that. They just like get down on themselves. They, you know, they just don't feel like doing it. And I really, truly understand how you feel. But this is one of these things where you got to fight. You just got to continue to fight. So if you're on Social Security, SSI, or retirement income, if you're getting sued, you need to get on that phone, get your strength about you, get on that phone, or you can send a certified letter to the attorney, send it to the judge and let them know. So even if they continue, they won't come and take your money. They might try to just get the judgment just in case you win the lottery, or if you own your home, because they're going to want to put a lien on your home. And then when you can satisfy that lien before you decide to sell your house. And we've helped plenty of people with that. So in those states, remember, in those states, even though you can't get garnished, they can attach your bank account. So you want to watch out on that. So now, the next phase, once you submit that discovery responses, really, because the way that we do it is we challenge their case based on their documents. When a debt collector gets documents and they're suing you, they're going off of documents that they really did not produce. They're going off accounting records that they did not produce. They're going off of papers that were sent down from the portfolio company that they bought it from and then passed over to them, because it's rare that the portfolio company who purchased the debt is actually going to be the one that goes to sue you. And then on top of that, the attorney that is bringing the case rarely reviews all of those documents. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy. I really think that. Well, we'll send you that Dunning letter. If you go below the video, on all of mine, below the video, you will see the link to my 3 free letters: debt validation, statute of limitations, and cease and desist collection activities letter. Not cease and desist communications. We want to keep communications open because we don't want them to go around your back. But if you go to the bottom of all of my videos, it says the 3 letters. You go there, you drop your email address in, it's going to take you straight to get those 3 letters, and you need to do what you need to, put in your info. Or you could skip all of that, go to summonsmaster.com, upload your debt collection letter. It will scan it, and it will create an exclusive certified debt validation letter based. I'm back. I don't know, the connection messed up. I'll say that again. Go to Summons. If you want to, you can go to summonsmaster.com, upload your debt collection letter, and it will create that letter for you. I call it an exclusive certified debt validation letter. You send that to the debt collector with the green notice. Go to the mail, get the one with the green. I'll get one here that doesn't have anybody's name on it. Get this one. You don't even need a return receipt. It'll put it online. When they know that you know that they got that, it takes their debt collection process. It sets them back because they know that you're putting up a challenge. And it also can make a lot of the debt collectors not take you to court because they know that everything that they have to do from the date that they receive your letter with that green notification on there, that they have to follow the process because they can get caught up if they decide to take you to court. So now, once you submit that information, this is the way that we've seen it play out, and it could be either way. They could, based off of your discovery responses, they might dismiss the case if you do this the right way, because they know that when they take it in front of the judge, they're going to have a problem because they state those questions in that discovery as if they were the creditor, like they made the loan, they had the credit card, and they didn't. So it's easy to overcome them, but you have to do it in a way that the judge doesn't get offended, like you're trying to deny stuff. And we never go into any case trying to get you to deny something. That's setting you up for failure. What we want to do is we want to initiate your rights, which is when you're being sued in any situation, that they must prove their case against you, regardless if you took the loan, regardless if it was your credit card, even if it was the original creditor. If it didn't matter, why would they bring a summons? Why would they put the allegations? Even if it's the original creditor or debt collector, just ask yourself this question. Why would they go through the trouble to put all of that information in there if it was just about your name signed on the contract and you owe the debt? If it was just about that, but that's what they try to get you to focus on. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. It's taken us a lot of years to be able to understand the way that the attorneys understand it and the way that the judges understand it. So it's not as simple as I might be making it sound, but the basis, what it comes down to is that they have to prove their case. But you have to, present your defense to the court in a way where you're not just up there saying, I deny everything. That's going to get the judge pissed off at you. So once you submit that, they could dismiss it. They can say, we're not going to be able to overcome this. Let's just go after the other people. They do that like it's crazy. Or they'll just say, hey, we're going to roll the dice with them. They roll the dice, we're going to roll the dice. They take it to the judge. Now, here's something that they'll usually do. I've started seeing this where they will submit a motion for summary judgment. And lately they've been doing this to make the clients believe that they've already lost the case. This is crazy. This is how snaky or crafty these attorneys, these debt collection attorneys can be. So what they'll do is they'll submit that motion for summary judgment, and when the clients get that, they feel like they've already lost the case. And I'm like, no, read it carefully. What they're actually saying is that they wanted to submit it early. They want to submit that before the judge sees the case. So you got to be very careful. This is where they try to get people mixed up. they'll be like, we're going to submit that motion, but we want to do that before we have the trial. And so when they submit that motion, it does make it more difficult, because now we have another level of documentation that you have to respond to. So now you got to respond and submit a motion to oppose the summary judgment. Now, the difference between the documents that they sent before is that in the motion for summary judgment that the plaintiff attorney would put together, is they're using other cases to say, well, a judge gave this debt collector the money in this case, so we believe that this case is similar and we want you to give us the money. So the way that you would counteract that is you would have to submit a motion to oppose, but you have to counter with other cases. And yes, we've been able to do that. That's a specialized service that we do offer. That's a specialized service that we offer. But one recently, it was on my website. I wish I had a way to share the screen here, but if you go to this link, I'm going to get this link here up. This link here that I'm going to put in here, this is for the credit repair shop. You will see that we put in what we did is we did a combination. The individual had a default judgment and they came back and resubmitted for a motion for summary. And you will see right here, if you go to that link, previous default judgment for $39,583.33. Now, when you see something like that, that was, number one, it was a default judgment. Second, when we submitted to get the default judgment over vacated, they submitted a motion for summary judgment because they're like, hey, we still want to get, be able to get this money, continue getting this money. And then we had that submission to respond to oppose. And then everything was dismissed. This individual here, this was the original creditor, $39,583.33. So if you go to that link, and the service is not on that link, you'd have to contact us, and we would have to look at your case, your situation. We'll be upfront with you about the potential outcomes on it. But if you fall within what I've mainly talked about in this video, we can get it reopened. And one of the specialties that we do that I have not seen other services that provide similar, there's similar ones, but I think that we're top notch, is that when we get these reopened, we put a defense in place. So imagine this: if the plaintiff attorney gets that motion and the judge says, no, we're going to reopen this, we're going to set aside this judgment, and then there's a defense that's already built in, that could make them not want to bring the case back, because they do have that option. But when you do that, that was something that I had asked my team to work with me on doing. And when we did that, we got fantastic results, because then the plaintiff attorney and with their client, I guess, consulted with their client, they decided not to bring it back. So we went through the discovery, and then they had the motions. And again, that motion for summary judgment, they'll sometimes throw that out there. Well, they're going to throw that out there early, but you got to pay attention that is not meaning that you lost the case. And then you're going to need to respond to that. And then once it hits those, then it's going to go right into the judge's hand. And let me just go over some of the situations that happened in court and how we've coached people, and also my own situation in the 1990s when I went through this stuff. Is if you're dealing with an original creditor or even a debt collector, this is a potential outcome that could happen, is that the judge is like, I call it like a stalemate, where the judge is like, I don't know if this case, they don't say it, but they're kind of leaning where they might dismiss the case, but they just didn't do it. With the mindset, this is what's going through their mind. They see them all the time. I know judge is supposed to be a balanced scale. They see that attorney all the time. They come in there day after day after day. That's their friend. Maybe they had lunch. I don't know. But you will see that they talk to each other in a friendly manner. And just like you and I with friends, you sometimes you let your friend down a little bit easier than you would someone that you don't know. And from the situation that I went through, and from what I've coached my clients on, is that the judge will start sending you signals that they could potentially dismiss the case, but they send these signals also, hey, why don't we have like y'all two get together and have a resolution? And the judge will say something like this: well, Mr. Williams, I see that you don't believe that you owe this amount. Is there an amount that you believe you do owe? And for my clients, what I tell them to do, which is what I did in the 1990s when they claimed I owed a credit card debt for $4,500. And I know that the time that I had that was when I was in the Army, and I was only making $600 a month in 1988 in the United States Army. And I did not owe them $4,500. They are not going to give an 18-year-old in the U.S. Army, that's my picture right there, they're not going to give a soldier making $600 a month a credit card with a $4,500 balance. Long story short, Roush Hornick, this is where I got my experience in court with dealing with them later, not in my teens. They had bought the debt, ballooned it up to $4,500. And the judge, with the way I was just winging it, and got them to where the judge was not going to give them a judgment, that they wanted us to at least talk it over. And the attorney that usually showed up in court, which is like a junior attorney, they said, well, we need to have another hearing. And when I went back to the next hearing, they had the big attorney, like the Attorney Roush, which is now, since the 1990s, is a nationwide debt collector. They do American Express, a whole bunch of Barclays. They do the big ones. And I sat down with him. I told him straight up, I was only, I think, 20-some years old at that time, like 26 years old. I said, I didn't owe this amount of money. And we went back and forth. He's like, you pay payments on? No, I didn't owe that amount of money. We ended up settling that at $500. That's what we settled it for. Went back out to the judge. Judge said, you're lucky, Mr. Will. I was like, I don't know if I'm lucky, but I know my wife told me don't come home with $4,500 that we got to pay. After I told her that I didn't have a credit card when I was in the Army for $4,500. That was what was going on in my mind. That just show you that you could have two thoughts going on when you're under that type of pressure. So I settled it for $500. What I did not know at that time, which I will share with you, is that the debt was past statute of limitations. I didn't have to pay anything, zero. And I actually went through something like that, similar, with an attorney, where I hired an attorney. I was being sued for $100,000. And I thought that the attorney was going to take care of everything. He made it worse. He did not even, initiate any of my rights through the whole process. Not to say that all attorneys would do that, but he didn't. And if he would have just did his job, I would not have had to pay anything on that. And it's not that I took that 100. That was part of a business deal that I had. And I was sued in a whole nother state, didn't even know that I was getting sued. But I take responsibility, and I said, well, it is not that amount. I didn't even know about those amounts. And he didn't get the documents, didn't challenge the case the way that I just told you how to challenge it. And I wouldn't have had to pay anything, but I had to pay $42,000 to get out of that case, to just be able to just say it's done and over with. But I consider that a $42,000 education in, number one, knowing that you don't need an attorney, because I ended up firing the attorney and being able to get that, because they were saying that they wanted $100,000 With the attorney, they wanted $100,000, and the attorney wanted $2,500 just to go to court, which I paid him. And they said, we want all $100,000. After getting frustrated, let him go. Me and my wife consulted. We went back and forth, and we negotiated it down to 42.5. I remember taking it to him and saying, I'm done with this. But that was like my education. In a way, I'm so grateful because, number one, I know how people like you could be feeling when you're getting sued. Like, I know deep down to the bone how you feel. I couldn't sleep at night. Even though I knew I could come to a resolution, it was still just running through my mind. Like, how did I get myself in this situation? Even before I told my wife about it, like, I got to tell my wife we're about this lawsuit. Like, you know how it could be. You know how it could be. And it's just, it was like a education to me to, number one, know that it's not just about some paper somebody done handed you in your hand or threw on your doorstep or nailed on your door. It's more than just that. It's about the feeling that we go through. I've even had, this is no lie, I've even had judges. I'm talking about judges, police officers, people who work in the court system, court reporters. When they got sued, this is crazy. When they got sued, all emotions went over education. When they got sued, judges, court reporters, police officers, when they got sued, emotional inside was more prevalent than their education about what a debt collector could actually do to them. That is incredible. Because when you're being sued, it's like they're pointing the finger right at you, even though they got a sheet, thousands of names that they're going after. But this is the psychological game that they play. And one of the things, what made me so grateful about going through that case, that bigger case, because they threw everything at us, they threw everything, is that I got to understand even the emotions of the attorney on the other side. And when I designed Summons Master, I designed it specifically to challenge that attorney. And some of the attorneys, when our clients got responses, it was like the attorney was emotional. Like, you're blaming me for this. Oh, I didn't know this. Like they in their words, like they would respond back in emails or respond back in documents. And they're like, whoa, this is exactly what we want to do. If they're going to try to get our clients emotional, well, guess what we're going to do? We're going to play the process game, the documents. We're going to file our response. We're going to do, if it gets to discovery, we're going to do all of that, but we're going to play some mental back on them. Because if you're being sued right now, I want you to look at your documents. And they will use this. I've talked about this in probably my first video that I made about people getting sued. As I said, why do they use the word unjust enrichment? Why do they use the word unjust enrichment in these lawsuits? What are they trying to give the impression to the judge? So what we want to do is we want to turn that around on them, and we want to get them emotional about what they're supposed to do when they are filing these cases. And when you get to doing that, it's more than just that attorney calling their client and saying, well, do you want to continue with this case? No, this is what it becomes. It becomes that attorney kind of having a little bit of fear and emotion, and they say, well, hey, maybe we can move on with these other ones, and we just let this one go because it's going to be a fight, and maybe you don't want to pay, more fees on this one. Whatever. I don't know what they say, but I can tell you that we've gotten them to where they've been dismissed. You can go to that link again, and you can see cases dismissed. Recent cases. Recent. And another thing before I continue, a lot of times when it gets to these points, you're going to have to go on faith. And when I say go on faith, it could look like you're going to lose because you're not going to know you're going to win until you win. But you can't win unless you're willing to put yourself in the position to lose. You can't win. There's no guarantees. But I think that if you have all the ammunition that you need, have a response, if it gets to the point with the production admission interrogatories, if it gets to the point of having a motion to oppose summary judgment, with all of that added up, with that expense, if your case is 15, 20, 30, 40, 100,000, we just did one for 140,000. Facing that amount based off of just fighting, and then you don't know you're going to win. I wish I could tell you you're going to win. No attorney can tell you you're going to win. I can't tell you you're going to win. What I could do is I could tell you you're going to be in a position to win based off of real results that we've gotten for other clients. So if all of that doesn't go through, when you go through, they have a conference, you can't come to any agreement, this is where the judge is going to look at everything and they're going to make their decision. And we've had clients where they went to trial and it didn't look like they were going to win. And that judge looked at their friend across there, that plaintiff attorney, like, hey, Joe, let's move on to the next case. Case dismissed. Just like that. Just like that. That's the way it's happened for clients. And then they call us up, I won. We tell people to talk about how they felt. If you go to Google, type in the credit repair shop, we haven't started the review page for Summons Master yet, but we use Summons Master for their response. To look at how they talk about their situation, because we tell them people are just like you, they're struggling. Could you please, just when you do your review, we appreciate your review. And some people don't want to do a review, they don't want to have their business out there. And let me take a quick drink. My voice. Some people don't want to put a review, but the ones that do, we really appreciate it. And we say, just do us a favor, though, tell people how you felt. Because and one of the things when we were looking at one of the reviews, this was something that they said. They said that during the process that we helped them respond. As it was getting closer to their hearing date, they called us and we coached them. After the hearing, when they had, maybe there was no decision made and they had another court date, they called us and we coached them and kept encouraging them. And then one lady, one of the recent testimonials, she called us from court. She said that they took a break and she called us and she said, do you think I should just go for the settlement? And we said, it's up to you to do what you want to do. That's why I said, when you're listening to the judge, you will kind of get some feelings. We said, what do you feel? And she said, I feel that the judge is going to go in my favor, but I don't know. What should I do? We told her, you got to do what you believe you want to do. And guess what she did? She went into court and she said, I want the judge to make a decision. Like 15, 20 seconds later, she said, case dismissed. So just think of the roller coaster that she was on. The roller coaster that she was on, and then to have the case be dismissed, gone. They can't do a 1099-C. They can't say that it was income. We're talking about just done, like a boxing match. The person is knocked out. The fight is over. There is no rematch. It's over. It's over. So if you need help responding to a debt collector lawsuit or original creditor lawsuit, go to www.summonsmaster.com. I'm going to put it on here. That's summons with an S, master.com. Go to summonsmaster.com where you can get a fully formatted response to every allegation in your summons and a defense to potentially win your case. All you have to do is upload one PDF file of your summons. That's all it needs, your summons. This is not about denying everything, none of that stuff. This is about putting forth a defense to help you win your case. If you have debt collectors who are sending you letters, you can go to summonsmaster.com. You can upload that letter, and it will create an exclusive certified debt validation letter. And remember, you got to send that to them with this green thing. It could help you avoid getting sued. Thank you for your time. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com and summonsmaster.com. And for everyone who was watching, thank you, and you have a great day.